What's happening, folks? Back for the next Classical Days reaction, and we are going to listen to another part of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart's Requiem Mass, as heard in the Amadeus soundtrack. Thank you again to Sophia for providing this. And we're going to listen to the Lacrimosa, which I think means full of tears or tearful, and it certainly is a composition that speaks to intense despair and sorrow. In the words that are heard, of course they are not in English, but also in the sheer pain that comes across in the musical ingredients of this composition. So I think it's very well written. Inevitably, I think of it in the context of the Amadeus film, which most notably is used when they are burying Mozart, and Salieri, in one way, finally getting what he thought he always wanted, but being as heartbroken about it as anyone in that moment. And of course, it makes me think of the scene just before that when he's taking dictation from Mozart, which, again, is exactly what he wanted, to be able just to write the music of God, as he became jealous in the sense that it seemed like Mozart was actually doing that, because in the film, all his drafts of music have no corrections, no mistakes, or no notes on the side. It's like as if he just wrote them down one shot perfectly in his head with no need to adjust it. And this annoys Salieri, and then by the end of the film he's taking dictation from Mozart of this heavenly music, and yet it's never what he expected when he thought that earlier. So yes, I think it's very cleverly written, which is to say, shout out to Peter Shaffer, who wrote the historical fiction, which again, there are liberties taken, and there are aspects that are filled in, meaning, there are ambiguities about certain aspects of Mozart's life and work, and the film and the play that it was based on, fills in some of those details with creative liberties, so that is, of course, part of the experience. Nevertheless, I think it's a really heart-wrenching, heart-rending, and yet elegantly beautiful piece. So let's give it a listen. This is Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart and his Requiem Mass, specifically the Lacrimosa, as performed by the Academy of St. Martin in the Fields and conducted by Neville Marriner. Amen. So, yes, definitely a powerful and sorrowful conclusion to the film, and of course, a key part of why Mozart's Requiem Mass is considered one of the great masterpieces of all time. And yes, there's a lot of weight and a lot of depth to the despair that is felt, and of course, the voices do a great job conveying that. But it's also the violins and even the timpani at the end really gives you a sense of the thunderous power of that despair and sorrow. So, yes, ultimately, I think it is very well composed, and I think it is well performed here. In a way, it's like the definitive version. Now, I have different best of Mozart's compilations. I have, I think, even maybe my dad still has it, but I've heard like the full Requiem Mass, and with some different orchestras, different choirs, different conductors, but ultimately, whichever selection in that regard you choose, you're still working with legendary material. So, yes, once again, thank you to Sophia for providing the soundtrack. I'll admit, it does make me think of maybe the best commercial I've ever seen. I won't talk about it for too long because I mentioned it in my watch along on Patreon, so if you're really curious, you can check it there. But many years ago, maybe 20 years back, there was a Nike commercial which was about a basketball team losing at the last second, which in a lot of sports media or entertainment, it focuses on success, triumph, winning the championship, coming from behind. But the reality is there's always the other side of that, because if your team came from behind to win, that means the other team lost at the last second. And in some competition, a cup, a competition, a playoff, there's two teams, one team loses. And in, again, sports media, that's not often focused on. And the commercial shows what it feels like to be on the other side of that, and it plays the Lacrimosa, or the last like 45 seconds of the Lacrimosa, over images of a team crumbling and falling apart and losing at the last minute, which I always thought was very clever. So, in any case, it's a brilliant work. Let me know what you think, and Luca and I, the horizontal cat, shall see you next time. Peace.